I've been trying to make this video for a long time now. Since 2020, I've been very opinionated on Breath of the Wild 2. However, I have never had the drive to make a video about my opinions, mainly because I don't know much about how to make a YouTube video. Even so, this video had to be made because this game is very important to me. I will start the video's main point right now. Since Breath of the Wild came out, the public's opinion of the sequel has been mostly split into two groups. The first group has the opinion of loving Breath of the Wild, praising all of its well-done gameplay and story. This group loves the game Breath of the Wild, but they don't necessarily love the Zelda series. The second group says they like Breath of the Wild, but they're very critical of the game, preferring traditional Zelda games over Breath of the Wild. This group says the game is good, but it isn't Zelda. The main thing that divides these groups would be the first group wants the sequel, called Tears of the Kingdom, to make more of what Breath of the Wild did, and they desire for the sequel to continue to innovate and go down the path that Zelda Breath of the Wild started. They want it to continue to add new ideas and take the stuff that Breath of the Wild added and continue to expand upon it. The second group is scared for the rest of the series, and they want Breath of the Wild to be like the old Zelda games. Their main focus is they're afraid that Zelda is going in a different direction from what they're used to because they've grown up with this series for a long time, and they really cherish Zelda, and they understand the series is always been a certain way, and this new process, and Zelda was rebooted. It was completely overhauled, and now it's a completely different game. Now they're afraid that their old Zelda games are just gone and done with. Now that the groups are laid out, I want to mention my opinion, and then I will explain why that is my opinion. If you disagree with my views, I encourage you to watch the whole video just so you can mention your opinion in the comments, and you can have a conversation with me while also maybe changing my opinion. My opinion is agreeing with the first opinion. I think Tears of the Kingdom should be more like Breath of the Wild. I love Breath of the Wild. I love every part about it. I love the exploration. I love the fact that you can go wherever you want to without the game telling you to. Really, that's a part of the magic of Breath of the Wild. You just stumble upon a new place, and you admire the landscape. I love how the world is full of new ideas. You've got new ideas like the Yiga clan, the monsters, and just the world itself. It makes you feel like you've gone on a whole new adventure. Like, when you go into the world for the first time, you don't know anything, and it's this mysterious world. You wake up and you find the Sheikah Slate, and it's like, oh, look, here you go. New landscapes, new places, stuff that you never even thought of. You can put an Octorok balloon on a platform and make it fly. It's just a lot of fun, new stuff. This game, it pulled in a lot of people that didn't really play Zelda, myself included. I was never really a Zelda fan. I just liked Breath of the Wild. I did play other Zeldas, and I understand the perspective of the other group, and I understand what it's like to have nostalgia and to really want to have your series that you grew up loving not be taken away. I can really understand that perspective. But talking about Breath of the Wild, yes, it did completely change the way Breath of the Wild, or the way Zelda worked. It was a completely different series. Instead, when you get an item and you open a chest, it wouldn't just go da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It would just open and go like with this cool Sheikah Slate thing, and then it'd be all over. That'd be it. And a lot of people will say, oh, that lacks the charm of Zelda. But I disagree. I really like that new style of gameplay. I thought that stuff in Zelda, with the chest opening and the items and the dungeons, I always felt it was very cheesy. And I never really enjoyed the story of Zelda, and I never really liked the style of Zelda. There are exceptions, though. I will get to that. But yeah, just this giant open world. It's not just the fact that the game's open world. I love every aspect about it, especially the story. Most Zelda games, their story is a concrete story. It's by the book. You just go from one place to another, and you don't really get any say in how the story plays out. While as in Breath of the Wild, you're able to make your own story. And actually, that's why I love the game so much. It's the main reason. Because I would pretend that the character I was playing was not Link. When I first got the game, I named him my own name. And this is what I did with other Zelda games that I played. But in other ones, they were, like, decent. And I could actually have some more freedom. And other games, they felt like they were forcing me down a path and telling me exactly what to do and what my character was like. Really, I didn't like that. I named my character, like, Justice or something, but then I ended up changing it to Gollum. And my character, Gollum, was, like, this guy, and he had his own personality and everything. But even without that, the story by itself holds up. And I know you could think, well, okay, a lot of stories that have a blank protagonist, they don't really have, like, a meaty story to it. But the thing is, this story is actually better by itself than any other Zelda game that I've ever seen. Like I said, I have played a lot of Zelda games, and this one has encapsulated me more just with the standalone story. The world has been completely or almost destroyed by these robot destroying machines, and your character, his girlfriend, essentially, or the girl that he was trying to protect, sealed him away into the shrine because he almost died when he was trying to protect her. And he went to sleep for 100 years, and he woke up in a world that was completely barren, and everything and everyone that he loved was gone. And he had to kind of clean up the mess from all the stuff that had happened in the past. That's amazing! That is a really cool story. Like, Link, by himself, and I don't even use the character Link, but Link, he is a cool character. And I actually love the dynamic between Link and Zelda. I'm sure people have talked about that, and how they don't like Zelda to be, like, the kidnapped person, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, that can be kind of annoying. However, in this game, it works so well, because your character doesn't remember anything, and he's sort of building up his memories and remembering who he was, while also finding out who he is now and understanding that person in the past was him, but now he's also still a new person. That is really deep. Like, that is a good story. I don't know why no one's ever talked about this, but wow, that's incredible. As he continues to get his memories together and find out who he is, he's, like, slowly getting glimpses of Zelda, and he's seeing who she is. And I've always been of the opinion that, yes, there is a, like, romantic relationship between the characters Zelda and Link, and it really works well, because Zelda's not just with him, she trusted him that he would be able to save the world, and she went to go fight Ganon by herself. Yeah, Zelda's pretty strong, and she can take herself, but she still needs some help from her partner Link, who, I mean, I'm not going to go into big detail of the memories. However, they do go really into detail of how they meet and all that stuff. I'm going to tell you something really cool. I really like how in Breath of the Wild, how Link is a royal knight. In the other Zelda games, Link is usually just like this farmer or peasant, and he's just like, okay, you go off on an adventure, and you find out that you're like the chosen one or whatever, and that, to me, that's kind of boring. There are some games that do it well. I'll go off for a little bit, and I'll tell you the games that I personally enjoyed other than Breath of the Wild. One game I did like was Ocarina of Time. I played that one. It was the first... I think it was the best well-done concept of what it could do, and I did like A Link Between Worlds, so I'll get back to why I like those in a little bit. So, taking the story that Breath of the Wild was creating, and being able to create kind of like your own story with the game, a story that's already made, and just kind of being able to forge your own path. You get to go to different locations, find certain things out. That's what's really fun. I'm climbing a mountain, and oh gosh, a giant ice dragon fight happens, and I have to fight this thing. I didn't expect it, but wow, that's cool. I'm pretty sure everyone's mentioned, like, that's what's good about Breath of the Wild. And that's why it's superior to the other games. This is where I get into my main point. A lot of these people who talk about how Breath of the Wild is good, but it's not a Zelda game, they're afraid. And I understand that perspective, because I have seen my own series that I have loved and enjoyed, and they've sometimes gone in different directions that maybe I haven't agreed with. Star Wars is a good example, but that's a completely different story. But the thing is, Breath of the Wild is, in my opinion, is simply superior. It has a better story, the world's more interesting, it has something great, and it's sold like 20 more million copies than any Zelda game has ever done. This game encapsulated a whole group of people that never even played Zelda. I did. So I'm a little bit removed for that group, but I can still understand, because Breath of the Wild was my main big game. I'm still relatively young, so I can understand a lot of people who have this perspective of picking up Breath of the Wild for the first time and playing it and just loving the game. Here's the thing, though. After this game, we've gotten nothing. I mean, a lot of people who are my age, or just older, there are people who are older who have played Breath of the Wild and loved it, and then never picked up a Nintendo game ever again. Because Nintendo's not catering to our group anymore. Ever since 2020, they've been catering to the same group. This group of 30-something-year-old men who have nostalgia for the 64 and the GameCube, and that's their thing. And Nintendo is catering to them. But Nintendo forgot who their primary fan base is. It's children. And I'm not a child, but I was not too long ago. Well, technically I'm still a child, but I'm still young. I'm 17 years old. I'm still primarily in their main group. It's these games, but still, the games themselves aren't even made for me. They're made for younger children. That's what they're made for. If you played a Yoshi game, you'll know it's not made for adults. It's made for children. But that's what's great about Nintendo. It has that little charm. It's fun. It's got a unique little take on things. It's just fun, and it brings back like this joy. That's what's fun about Nintendo, and that's what I love about Breath of the Wild. Zelda doesn't do that for me. It really doesn't. I've played Zelda games, and they're annoying. They're tedious. I have to constantly look things up, go online to get the dumb dungeon finished, and then I go back to finish the dungeon, and oh gosh, I didn't know that there was another thing there. I gotta look it up one more time, and I look it up, and oh wait, this was the thing I had to get to unlock the thing. And then I go through. It's just not fun. It feels like a chore. This is one thing I really hate about people who really say they want traditional dungeons to return. I'm like, okay, well, yes, the technological theme, I love the technological theme, but yeah, you can get rid of the theme. However, when we're talking traditional dungeons, I don't want that. We can have something new. I mean, I get it. Some people don't like the Divine Beasts. I loved them, but some people don't like them, and that's fine. But don't do the traditional dungeons either. Do something new. Do something explorative. That's why I loved Breath of the Wild. It was something so new. Everything was new. I don't want the old Zelda stuff because it's bad. And it truly is. I mean, I can understand, like, growing up with something and it being, like, good. But this new Zelda game system is the superior one. It is. And if you think different, well, I mean, the sales disagree with you. And very strongly. It's not like there was another reason for the game to not sell well. Zelda. I mean, everyone knew what Zelda was. It just never was that big of a name. 7 million game units sold pretty much every single time a game released. Well, that 27 million sales really makes things interesting, huh? Yeah. A lot of people like Breath of the Wild that didn't like Zelda. And that's where I really get to my third point. So I've mentioned that Breath of the Wild needs to have exploration. that's what will make it fun. Depending on whether you like the old stuff or the new stuff, it needs to have exploration, one thing. That's what makes Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's discovering new locations and being fun. The second thing, it can't have traditional dungeons. I hate it when games feel like a chore, and Zelda games that had traditional dungeons felt like a chore. That's what they felt like. Tears of the Kingdom needs to have new things that are added, because that's what was fun about Breath of the Wild. That's what got so many people interested into this game. It has to have new things. If Breath of the Wild 2, or the new title, if it expands on that concept, that's even better. And that's what I wanted to do. I don't want to just be the same thing. I mean, I love Breath of the Wild, but yeah, continue to expand on it. But just take the concepts and take the core concepts of exploration, new ideas, and that's it, really. Just those two things. If you take those two things and expand them, that's it. Don't go back, go forward. Environment that I loved so much, we're waiting on that. And these old Zelda fans, I hate to tell you, but they're selfish. Because you can have a Zelda game like that for any other time. But here's the thing, you already had your childhood. You're a 30-year-old man, or older. People as young as me, if you look at the stuff we've gotten, we haven't gotten much. We haven't had our whole lives to have all these great games that you have. And right now, it feels like Nintendo is banking off of the nostalgia of you. But however, there are so many kids my age and younger that have gotten Nintendo Switches underneath their Christmas trees and have not gotten anything for them that we have loved. We got Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and that was it. That was it. And you guys have gotten everything. For this game, and for this game alone, it needs to be like Breath of the Wild. Every other Zelda game can be like what you want. Every other Zelda game. You can have the old Zelda games back if you want. I do not care. But Tears of the Kingdom is the sequel. These other Zelda games didn't do it for me, and they didn't do it for a lot of Zelda fans. But Breath of the Wild did. And Tears of the Kingdom has to do that same thing. Just better. There's so many cool things it could do. I am not against the Zonai. I'm not against underwater exploration. I'm not against any of this stuff. All this stuff seems fun and interesting. As long as it's something new. As long as something new and it's cool and I have a whole new world to explore and I can forge out my own place with my own character, find out new areas, and it's a whole new story and just like a whole new world that has so much thought and effort put into it. That's what's so fun about Breath of the Wild. It's not just that it's open world. It's that it's a whole new world with its own places and the way it works. It's different from ours. It's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I get to that point and I can understand both perspectives. I understand why people with that old, who like the old games, want Breath of the Wild 2, or the new game, Tears of the Kingdom, to be what like the old games and have the traditional dungeons, but that would just be a regular Zelda game, but with open world, which is not fun. It needs to be Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure tons of people agree with me, not just people my age. I've watched Arlo's video. Arlo, shout out to that guy. He's a fantastic person, fantastic YouTube channel. I'm sure he wants the same thing as me, and I'm sure he doesn't let the nostalgia blind him, because I've seen his videos and once for Breath of the Wild 2, and it really does seem like he just wants more stuff to do, more stuff to explore. That's what Breath of the Wild was about, and that's what Tears of the Kingdom needs to be about. And as for the story, you could add tons of great stuff in it. It just needs to be new. I see Mummendorf is in it, and it kind of scares me. I don't want Link to wear green. I don't want Link to have his left hand. I liked right-hand Link. It was a new character, like a new person. I hope they do something cool with this game's story. I hope the Zonai have something to do with it. Maybe the Sheikah. I hope there's more sci-fi, because I love the sci-fi in Zelda. And that's pretty much it. I do like to take a look at both perspectives. And I understand what the other people think, and I understand what my side thinks. But at the end of the day, this game was not meant for people who didn't like Breath of the Wild. It was meant for people that did like Breath of the Wild. Not people that criticized the heck out of it, but people that loved every aspect of it, loved the new style, and loved that it was not a Zelda game, it was a Breath of the Wild game. If you disagree, please talk with me in the comments. I can defend my opinion as much as I can, and maybe you can convince me otherwise. I will see you later, and I hope you maybe change your opinion. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.